well, why don't you just try to be a good person and shut up? Hi, thank you for clicking on the video, and I hope everyone is doing really well. There are some things that you just don't say to people. And so for today's video, I'm going to be taking some questions that you should probably never ask a person with an eating disorder or a person who is going through eating disorder recovery. Questions you should probably never ever ask them, and I'm going to answer those questions the way that probably people, when they are asked these things, this is how they want to respond. And I'm gonna just assume, because in my case, when I'm asked some of these questions, my response is usually silence or just a blank stare. Like, really? You just asked me that? But today I'm actually going to give some verbal answers to these questions. Some may be serious, some mostly probably won't be, but here we go. I've seen you eat, so you're better now. That's not how it works. In fact, just because you see me eating doesn't mean that with every bite I am not shaming myself and guilting myself into hating myself. With every bite I detest myself and hate myself, and I'm putting myself down. But yeah, I'm better because you physically can see me doing the thing I used to not do. You've gained weight, so you're better now. Again, that's not how it works. Just because you can physically see change doesn't mean that mentally, emotionally, we're changing as well. In my case, I ate and gained weight and I was still sick. I still hated myself. I still put myself down daily. I never connected the physical action of eating with recovery mentally. I went through all the emotions, but I never worked on my emotion to match it. It's an important thing to remember that just because a person gains weight, just because a person is eating, just because you can see the changes you want them to make, doesn't mean that inside they are still not crying out for help. That doesn't mean that inside they are still not completely devastated and still feeling trapped and stuck in an eating disorder. It's always important to remember that an eating disorder is primarily mental. It is all about the thoughts that we tell ourselves and the things we convince ourselves about ourselves. How long is recovery going to take? It feels like you've been in it forever. Well, I am so sorry that my physical health and my mental health is just getting in your way. It's like the person makes it about themselves, like you're such a burden on them, which is probably one of the reasons why you have an eating disorder in the first place. A lack of self-worth, a lack of self-respect, and a lack of realizing that you are good enough and you matter. By asking a person, how long is this gonna take? Like, you're wasting my time. Again, they feel like a burden on you. Why? In what universe would that question cross someone's mind as a good thing to ask? It's important to remember that there is no end date to recovery. That sounds kind of tedious, but it's true. Recovery is a lifelong choice, a daily choice, a decision to choose recovery every second of every day. It might eventually get to the point where it happens without you even noticing, but a lot of the time it's an actual thought that crosses our mind that we have to mentally, almost physically choose recovery every single moment of every single day. It gets easier, it gets harder, it goes back to being easy. It's an up and down battle, but it's a battle that we have to fight for the sake of our own lives. By trying to make someone, give them a deadline on their health, is incredibly insensitive. And if you're trying to be supportive, you might want to try avoiding insensitive questions. Why don't you just eat? It's easy. Well, why don't you just try to be a good person and shut up? See, it kind of goes like that. Like, you can say something's easy and it's simple and anyone can do it, like being a good and kind person, but clearly by asking that question, you're incapable of achieving that goal of being a decent human being. And remember, it's not easy for everyone. But you're not that thin. How can you have an eating disorder? Well, again, so sorry I can't match your your stereotype of what an eating disorder looks like. I didn't realize that I had to look a certain way in order to be taken seriously. You could have an eating disorder at any age, any size, any shape, any time. Doesn't matter what you look like. If you are ripping yourself apart mentally because of food, because of control, because of weight, because of anything, that's an eating disorder. An eating disorder is an eating disorder. It takes many different shapes, it takes many different forms, and you, as a supportive person in an eating disorder recovering person's life, should not be trying to smush them into a mold that fits your idea. You were in the bathroom a long time. Were you throwing up? Well, you might as well just take a sticker that says guilty and slap it on a person every time they go to the bathroom because they've had a problem with throwing up in the past. By asking this question, you are keeping that person sick. That person wants to get better. That's why they're in recovery. But by constantly questioning their guilty behavior, you are making them feel guilty, which in a way pushes them to want to meet your agenda and do those guilty behaviors. They were probably just pooping because that takes a long time for some people. Why can't you just stop binging? Again, why can't you stop being a sucky person? Do you know what you're putting me through? My response would be, do you know what you're putting me through, making this all about you? A person with an eating disorder already feels that they don't matter. So why don't you just go ahead and ask more questions that make it all about you rather than the suffering person? Because that's just gonna force the idea that they don't matter. I don't understand why people don't think before they speak. When you're talking about something as sensitive as weight, as food, as eating, as an eating disorder with a person that you know has an eating disorder, why don't people just think? Think to themselves, would I want to be asked this question if I struggle with X, Y, and Z? Oh, no, I wouldn't. I'm gonna ask it anyway. Totally screw up that person's day. Are you really going to eat that? So do you want me to eat or not? Because I thought the whole point of you being a supportive person as I go through recovery was to support me going through recovery from an eating disorder. You know, the thing where I like starved myself for a really long time and now I'm eating again, but you're questioning that. So what I'm hearing is I shouldn't eat. How can I be more like you? You are so disciplined. Well, all you need is to lack self-respect. Anyway, that reaches the end of my video. I hope you learned something. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. I am considering and probably going to do in the future a video taking these questions, digging a little deeper into some of them, and really giving much more in-depth and serious answers and explanation as to why these are touchy questions. These are sensitive areas of discussion and should not be taken lightly, should be taken seriously. And there is a way to approach a person with an eating disorder to help them, to support them, to love them, and to show that love and support rather than questioning and, in a way, putting them down when you're trying to help. There is a better way to help. Anyway, I am including the eating disorder helpline website in this video in the description. So definitely, if you feel like you are struggling, if you need help helping people, check it out. A lot of answers there, better than I could ever answer for you. If you have not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing or just subscribe for the heck of it. Like, why not? I make videos about eating disorders, obviously, eating disorder recovery, diets, and nutrition. And I will see you next time. Bye!